speaker award at the 2010 World Congress on Engineering in London and prestigious fellowships such as the Royal Society Fellowship 2011. He remains active in the global academic community as an associate editor for the journal Mathematical Biosciences. I present to you a Heraldite professor, a professor of merit, Professor Victor Kumar Roy.
Now, morning everybody. My dear colleagues and students. Today I will deliver my lecture on mathematical study of illicit alcohol consumption and its detoxification with special emphasis on nowadays program. So, actually, in this field, we have started our journey in 2013. That is the cause of pandemic. Last 3 to 4 years, due to separate constraints, we stopped our work. Furthermore, we have started this field or within this field, methanol consumption. That means the alcohol consumption, basically the alcohol consumption, which is poisonous alcohol, handmade alcohol, or homemade alcohol. This alcohol in our villages, globally, every country, the village people prepare this alcohol. They don't know about the preparing system, how much methanol will be arranged to produce this alcohol. They don't know about this. And therefore, the poisoning alcohol produced, and when the people drink it, a lot of people thinking after that died and injured severely in different countries. Our target is to how we can recover when the people, poor people basically, took this alcohol, poisonous alcohol. How can we prevent this? Or how can we save that people from their life-threatening condition? This is the motivation of our research, and we have done all of our work mathematically, and we have validated our work through experimental result. Now, this is our content, and accordingly I will deliver or tell you. And before going to the elaborate discussion of our work, I first have to introduce the facts on alcohol. In 2019, alcohol consumption was being about 2.9 million deaths globally, and illicit alcohol is the major contributor to this burden. Deaths are highest in Southeast Asia as well as Africa. Around 40% of all accidental death is the cause of linked to alcohol. Furthermore, after consumption of alcohol, that is basically methanol, which is absorbed in the stomach and intestine within 30 to 40 minutes, and it is then primarily metabolized in our liver, and its toxic effects begin to appear within a few hours. That means when we are consuming the poisonous alcohol, initially it will go to intestine and it will sustain 3 to 40 minutes. After that, directly it will move towards our liver, and there actually this alcohol metabolized, and from after metabolization, typically toxic effect can be formed. Illicit alcohol toxicity affects the central nervous system, especially the brain and the optic nerve. So this is the situation when the poor people taking the alcohol, and which is not scientifically, this alcohol is not prepared, and basically this is the homemade alcohol. Now, how can we describe the toxicology and antidote? Basically, methanol, it is toxic itself, and its metabolite, that is ultimately it will, when the people will consume the methanol or alcohol, then it is to be metabolized, and ultimately to some extent it will form the formic acid, and that formic acid basically highly toxic, which causes all the problems. But the ethanol, it is to be treated as an antidote, and it's competitively block the methanol metabolism and prevent the toxic forms of formic acid formation. Now, another thing which we have introduced in our work, that is the polinic acid. That is, when the pupil consume the alcohol, basically ethanol will try to prevent the pupil. When the pupil is to be toxic, will try to give them the ethanol as well as the polinic acid. And this polinic acid further accelerates detoxification by enhancing the breakdown and clearance of accumulated formic acid. Now, there are so many incidents globally happened in my country, India. Latest situation that in our one of our northeast state, Mizoram, there we have seen the 49 people died during the consumption of the illicit alcohol in 2025, 2023, 2019, 2015. All these years, a lot of people in my country died due to the cause of consumption of illicit alcohol. Furthermore, not only in my country, globally, if we see the situation, just in 2018, 45 people have been reported died of methanol poisoning from drinking the fake liquor in Malaysia. So, another interesting thing is that during the pandemic, the people, basically the illiterate people, they thought that if you consume the illicit alcohol or methanol, the virus will be removed or died. Therefore, during that time, the unaware people or illicit people taken the methanol due to the cause of that the virus will be died. But unfortunately, all that people was died during the pandemic situation. And just I would like to mention here that in United States, 2,200 people every year died due to the cause of methanol consumption. Now, if we look into the Africa, just show spatial distribution, fatalities, and the affected reported people, it has been shown in this picture, and especially if we look into the Nigeria, every year a lot of people die due to the cause of the illicit alcohol consumption that have been shown in this figure. Now, sign and symptoms, everybody will know about this, that if you take a little bit or a small doses of alcohol, and if this alcohol If it is prepared scientifically, it may be okay. But if it is the poisonous alcohol, obviously the thing should be happened, that is dizziness, headache, nausea, and vomiting, abdominal pain. This situation will be occurred during the small doses of consumption of alcohol. And if you take it moderate doses, then obviously this situation, my dear, since drowsiness, first pulse, all these situations are things to be happen during the consideration of moderate dose. And lastly, if you take high dose of illicit alcohol, then it is to be created within a short period, that is called the metabolic acidosis and convulsions, clinical edema, coma, respiratory failure, and death. All these things has to be opened if you take a lot of which you have done. Now, if you take a high dose of alcohol, obviously the situation, the people will feel the, or basically the metabolic acidosis, convulsion, retinal edema, coma, respiratory failure, and even death. That will happen. Now, just I will show you the two pictures. This is in my village where I am living. That is in West Bengal, a state of India. There in 2015, a lot of people, near about 250 people were died due to the cause of the illicit alcohol consumption. And another figure, this is basically in Nicaragua, when the people is being affected by the illicit alcohol consumption, and when that people gone to the hospital, the nurse used ethanol, and that ethanol is given to the people as an antidote. So all this situation has been happened during the process of consumption of illicit alcohol. Now I would like to tell you that what is the target of our study. I just have to tell you that methanol is, I have mentioned that methanol is a toxic element or toxicity, highly toxic, and ethanol, these all are the alcohol group, but we will use ethanol as an antidote, and also we have used quality, also we have used the this, that is quality acid, that we have used to reduce the acidity or toxicity. Now, how can we realize the people is being affected due to the cause of the illicit alcohol consumption? Documented plasma, if you test the blood, documented plasma concentration, this is greater than 200 mg, 200 mg. If it is happened, then obviously we will say the people is being affected by the illicit alcohol consumption, or that is the people is suspected methanol ingestion, and at least two of the following criteria, that is arterial pH is less than 7.3, and serum bicarbonate, if it is less than 20 milliliter per mole per liter, and osmolar gap, if it is greater than 10 MOSM per liter, then obviously the people is to be detailed that the people has taken the illicit alcohol consumption. Now, what is the metabolism of toxic alcohol? When the people consume the alcohol, is alcohol basically the poisonous alcohol which is being treated as a methanol. This methanol, when enter to the, I have earlier mentioned when entered in your liver, ultimately it will reach liver. Before that, when it moves, the people take alcohol, that means methanol, instantaneously this methanol will move towards the liver, and from that time, liver will secrete an enzyme which is called alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme. So this methanol will accumulate with this alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme, and it will formate the formaldehyde. And when this formaldehyde is to be created or produced in your body, then instantaneously another enzyme is to be formed, and that enzyme is called the formaldehyde enzyme. This formaldehyde enzyme acts with formaldehyde, and ultimately it will create the formic acid. Now our target is how can we use this poisonous metabolism? That means we will give that pupil ethanol. Impulsively we will give this ethanol, and also we will give the polinic acid. So that when you will give the polinic acid, this polinic acid is to be break down, and ultimately it will produce the carbon dioxide or and water. That is, scientifically we can say it is the byproduct and harmful element that is to be removed from your body. Now, what is the objective of our work? To develop and analyze a mathematical model using enzyme kinetic principles to study methanol toxicity in the human body, and to determine safe treatment strategies, ethanol dosing limits, polinic acid timing, and estimate the effective duration required for polinic acid to eliminate accumulated ferment. And another target, that is to construct a population level model incorporating social patterns of illicit alcohol consumers to understand drinking dynamics. And lastly, as I said, how awareness can be reduced methanol or illicit alcohol. Furthermore, when these people, how can we save that people? We have used another medicine that is called the disulfiram and disulfiram. This disulfiram we have used in our study and examined the role of disulfiram in discouraging alcohol intake. So I would like now we will go to our main first area of our research, that is the people are taking illicit alcohol consumptions, how it is metabolized in your body. That is the one part. And when these people, a group of people, when they are taking the illicit alcohol or legal alcohol, how we can then aware the people and how can them motivate to quit the alcohol consumption. These two things is our motivation. So just 2 months before this work has been published, so this part I will let you know that the metabolism system of alcohol. Earlier I have mentioned you the methanol, when it is going to the liver, alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme will be reduced, and from that alcohol dehydrogenase, this is the methanol. This methanol, when you are taking instantaneously from our liver, alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme will be secreted, and this, considering the equivalent relation with rate R1 and reverse rate R minus 1, it will form a alcohol methanol dehydrogenase complex, and from this complex ultimately formaldehyde will be created and enzyme will be diverted. Again, when this formaldehyde will be created, instantaneously from the liver. Another enzyme will be secreted. This enzyme is called the formal dehydrogenase enzyme. This formal dehydrogenase enzyme react with this formaldehyde and ultimately it will create a complex. This complex is repeated as the formal dehydrogenase enzyme complex. From this formal dehydrogenase enzyme complex, ultimately in your body will create the formic acid and enzyme will be liberated. This formic acid is much more harmful for our body. Now our target will give that people when they are taking this alcohol, we will give the ethanol as an antidote and folic acid. Just go to this. This is the mathematical model considering this geometric diagram. I think everybody knows considering this geometric diagram how we can formulate the mathematical model. And later we have used, I have already mentioned that our target is to introduce ethanol and another part is folic acid. So when you use ethanol, and because of ethanol has the much more affinity. When you are taking alcohol, the methanol has the much more affinity, and instantaneously when you consuming the methanol, that enzyme will go to the ethanol, not going to the methanol. So this methanol will, due to the cause of affinity, this enzyme will not go or act with this methanol. This enzyme will act with ethanol. So this ethanol and alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme, these stimulate with each other with a rate this, and ultimately it will form the acetaldehyde, acetaldehyde, and this acetaldehyde alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme complex. This is called X3, and from this acetaldehyde enzyme complex, so ultimately it is formed the acetaldehyde and enzyme will be back. So from this acetaldehyde, when it is to be formed in your liver, instantaneously another enzyme will be created. This enzyme is called the acetaldehyde enzyme, and this acetaldehyde enzyme with acetaldehyde, it will create a complex, and from this complex ultimately it will form the acetic acid, which is less harmful. So considering this geometric diagram, ultimately what we did, this is a nonlinear set of impulsive differential equation considering all these constraints, and this is the antidote ethanol and the folic acid. We have used it in a impulsive way. Now I must have to mention here that when the people are taking illicit alcohol, the reaction which is to be revealed, after 4 years. We have seen in our place, I have mentioned earlier. That is why we have considered here the initial conditions are given by E1 T4. That means after 4 hours, we are giving the ethanol as well as the folic acid. That's why the initial condition ethanol T4, that means after 4 hours we are giving this ethanol. And when T4 equal to 4 hours, this is the initial time for our system of differential equation. As the medication is started 4 hours after methanol consumption. That means the people taking the alcohol, illicit alcohol or poisonous alcohol, instantaneously it is not to be understand where the people is to be toxic. That's why when it is focused that the people taking the illicit alcohol or poisonous alcohol, after 4 hours, we are giving the antidote, and this is the initial time for our system of differential equation. as the medication. Medication is started 4 hours after methanol consumption. Now, if I denote the impulsive dose of folic acid administered in the system at times t equal to T4 plus I tau 3 out of I tau 1. And this Li basically denotes the impulse dose of antidote ethanol administered at times t equal to T4 plus I tau 2, where I equal to 0 to 0, 1, 2, and so on. These tau 1 and tau 2 represent the time between successive impulse dose of folic acid and successive impulse dose of ethanol. That is, suppose the people has taken illicit alcohol consumption. After 4 hours, we have started our work. That means we are giving the ethanol as well as folic acid. So how duration you must have maintained, that should be considered, and mathematically that we did. That is how long these two doses, when you are giving these two doses, is to be treated as a successive impulsive dose, that is ethanol and as well as the folic acid, respectively. If T equal to T4 plus I tau 1 and F tau inverse and F tau plus, that represent the concentration of folic acid just before and immediately after the ith impulse input. Similarly, if T equal to T4 plus I tau 2, that means the I tau minus and I tau plus represent the concentration of ethanol just before and immediately after the ith impulse input. Now, we have reduced this mathematical model. The equations of the system can be decoupled from the remaining equations, and total enzyme concentration, that is free and bound, remains constant. Using these relations, our reduced mathematical model is this. This is our reduced mathematical model. Now, analytical outcomes. Initially, what we did when we consider a mathematical model or formulate a mathematical model, then our first task is to check the non-negativity and bounded rate which we did, and the theorem which we received from our analytical results. And when we are doing the impulsive administration of ethanol, the impulsive differential equation corresponding to the administration of ethanol is this, and the corresponding impulsive periodic orbit that such that the ethanol concentration remains within the following interval. That means I lies between this, and similarly impulsive administration of ethanol of folic acid, as well as in the same way we have analyzed these things and we receive the same type of result, that is the corresponding impulsive periodic orbit such that the folic acid concentration remains within the following interval, and this is equal to this. Now we are going to numerical solution. This is the parameters, the values of the parameters we have considered from different experimented articles published in different peer-reviewed journals that we have considered, and just this figure I will let you know. That is, this is the alcohol dehydrogenase. We are not going to refer, all you know about this. This, suppose the metal going down, that means methanol is going down, that means methanol is metabolized very quickly with your blood. That's it go down. And another part is, that is the formic acid. Just this portion you have to follow here. This is formic acid. It is go rising. That means formic acid being created very quickly after ingestion of the methanol. Now we have another figure we have did. That part is actually considering about the ingestion of methanol as well as ethanol or folic acid, and each and every one acts with another that has been revealed in this figure. But I will show you the figure where we have considered without ethanol therapy or with ethanol therapy. just you have to follow here that we have started our ethanol therapy after 4 hours of injection, after 4 hours of consumption of methanol, that if you not start the treatment ethanol as an antidote, then after 4 hours, just it is to be metabolized in your liver or blood within 20 hours. But when you have started to giving in an impulsive way methanol antidote, the metabolization will be filled up to 70 hours. So we can, in a primary center, if you give this ethanol, and when you will see that the people is being affected with the alcohol, poisonous alcohol, just you have to put the ethanol as an antidote, you will get better results before coming to the main hospital or a big city hospital. So it is a primary stage, and how, what type of dose and the duration of that dose, that's we have calculated from our analytical as well as clinical results. Now, another figure I will show, that is we have used another thing, that is the folic acid, and just you have to follow here. Without folic acid, the formic acid, we have given the folic acid in the injection of just before formic acid is being formed, that we have given, and we have considered it after 4 years. And if you do not give the folic acid, it is without folic acid therapy, and just we are giving folic acid after 4 years. It is chronologically done with folic acid is reducing, and after 900 hours, the folic acid is to be removed from your body through the water and sodium from your urinal portion. Now our target is that when we have started to give the people ethanol as an antidote after 4 hours, we have given 0.0. We have given after 4 hours interval and 5 hour intervals, that is 0.4 milligram per kg ethanol to the patient, and it has been given after 4 hours interval and 5 hours interval. 4 hour intervals, when you are giving this ethanol, you have given 0.4 gram per kg ethanol, but if after successive 1 hour interval, you are giving only 0.1 gram ethanol, and that is, we have seen 4 hours interval, we have seen that here just you have to follow. This is the 5 hours interval. The formic acid, it is to be consumed in your body within 120 hours, but when you are giving, it is the 4 hours interval. It is to be removed from your body within the 97 hours. And similarly, we have checked whether we will give 50 milligram or 40 milligram folic acid. This we have seen that the 40 milligram folic acid is 50 milligram folic acid therapy is the best, as because of 50 gram folic acid is removed from formic acid within 97 hours. But the 50 milligram folic acid, if you successively put to the patient, then it is to be removed from your body within 120 hours. It is almost 1 day. So obviously we will take 50 milligrams folic acid therapy. This is so I am not going to this. So this is our result. The impulsive dosing strategy identified. The loading dose is 0.6 gram per kg ethanol at 4 hours, and then every 1 hour interval you just have to put 0.1 gram per kg per hour for each infusion. And B, folic acid 50 milligram per kg every 4 hours, accelerate formic acid clearance, and effective treatment duration that we have calculated, that is ethanol therapy can be stopped after you will not be able to give the undefined time to give the polinic acid. Yeah, so that we have or ethanol that we have counted. That is, and we have seen that ethanol therapy can be stopped after 50 hours on ethanol is less than 0.2 gram per kg. And again, the folate therapy, that is, we are giving the polinic acid. This folate therapy can be discontinued after 97 years. In last figure where we have seen when polinic acid is nearly eliminated. Now another thing, the model validation. The model validated against the clinical data which we did in our one and simulated ethanol half-life 20 to 25 hours and formic acid here this is 100 hours. Both align closely with reported clinical testing. Now another thing, hemodialysis or threshold defined, that is the hemodialysis need only if initial ethanol dose is greater than 1.4 gram per kg. 1.4 gram per kg, and otherwise ethanol plus folic acid treatment is sufficient. So if the blood condition is ethanol dose is greater than 1.4 gram per kg, obviously hemodialysis is to be needed. Otherwise, the treatment which we have mentioned, it is sufficient to clear the reduce the folic acid. And otherwise, now we will discuss. This is the metabolization system during the process of consumption of illicit alcohol. Now we will discuss about a population level model, and that population level model just 2 months ago it has been published on controlling illicit alcohol consumption through awareness and research via a mathematical study. Here, in different part of the globe, we have seen how the people are being affected by considering on consumption of illicit alcohol that has been defined in this figure. And to consider this fatal situation, how the mathematician can give some suggestion for the people, those who are taking this illicit alcohol consumption. Here we have considered 4 compartment population level model, that is the legal alcohol users, those people who are taking the legal alcohol, the people, those who are taking the illicit alcohol, and the people, those who taking illicit alcohol or legal alcohol, but after some time they have stated that consumption of alcohol. This is the quicker section of people, and another part is awareness. How we can build up the awareness program to our people to quit the consumption of illicit alcohol. Here, just we have considered this 4 compartment model. Here is the legal alcohol users, and these legal alcohol users is recruited at a rate lambda into lambda. These legal alcohol consumers, it has been recruited at a rate lambda, and always try these legal alcohol consumers meet with the illegal alcohol consumers. If they have a relation with each other, and that relation we are considering making at a rate alpha, so that this term is being created, and another part in denominator just here we just have to follow the when media awareness build up, and this media ultimately reduce the consumption of alcohol consumers. That is, this is 1 plus Jia. Here I have written is alpha, that is the spread rate of methanol intoxication, and Jia, this is the suppression rate due to the media awareness. Now, this 1 plus Jia, this is the linear term, and to represent the suppression as the reduction in interaction is assumed to be directly proportional to the level of awareness. Now, these people, some people Here, just you have to produce the cause of media awareness program. Some people, they when or their family station, their awareness program and the social awareness program, they sometimes think that will not take the illicit alcohol, but will take some better alcohol, that is the legal alcohol. So these people move towards the legal alcohol group, and some people they will think it is very much harmful for me. So I will obviously quit this consumption of alcohol. Therefore, beta on is the rate. Beta on is the rate of liquor consumer joining beta, and beta to the rate of liquor consumers returning to the legal alcohol consumption. This term as that is this term we have given, and this part is joining to this part, and this part is joining to this part. Again, some illegal alcohol consumers think that my body is going to very much break down. So I must have to quit the alcohol consumption, or otherwise if I take it is not for the awareness program. He thinking from his own and from his family pressure that I must have to quit the alcohol. Or some people think, okay, I will go to the legal alcohol. These people are that people, they are going to some people in legal alcohol consumers group and another part in the Twitter group. Now, the illness and mortality, each due to the cause of consumption of illicit alcohol and legal alcohol, the all intersection people, all together, we are considering that in each group as a mortality rate, we are considering these mortality rates respectively mu F, mu I, and mu Q. And another part which is the media awareness dynamic. This media awareness dynamic, that is the rate of change of this media awareness, that is omega. This omega awareness increase the rate of global campaign, and eta, this is the awareness increase rate from the local campaign. And awareness A, this rate R, this R is the awareness decay. That means if the funding problem or due to so many problems, awareness build up. Sometimes it is stopped. That's why during that time the decay rate of that awareness program, which we have considered as R, this R is to be minus here. So here it is equal to this. Now this is the population-based model, and the model is this. Total model is here. Where the initial values are that A0 greater than 0, I0 greater than 0, Q0 greater than 0, and A0 all are greater than 0. Now the properties, mathematical properties, what do we do? As usual, course that we did. The positivity, different equilibria, and so many things. As usual, what we did, everything we have done. That I am not going to discussion. But obviously, I go to one remark here. That is just you have to follow the. Here we are getting mu I is greater than mu V. Mu I is from one analytical part. We got mu I is greater than mu L. What does it mean? Mu I means the state of illicit alcohol consumption. It is always greater than the death rate of legal alcohol consumption that we have received from our analytical result. Mu I is greater than mu L. Now, that's why I have mentioned here as a remark, this condition is biologically linked as the death rate of illicit alcohol consumers, mu I, is expected to be much higher than the legal alcohol consumption. This is another experience which we have received. I am not going to this part, but now I wish to discuss about the Trafficking is that. Now our target, how we can control these people waiting illegal alcohol consumption. On this awareness build up. Another part is disulfiram tablets which we have given. So this here you just have to check Q. Here is the illicit alcohol. Here is the illicit alcohol pupils. Illicit alcohol treatment. They been awarded. Therefore, we have given here Q. Q is the control input parameter. And here also we have given this portion, just here, follow here. This. And here also this. Due to the cause of awarded. And here we have given the disulfiram tablet from here section. And obviously, our target is to those who are taking the illicit alcohol. So we have given the tablet disulfiram here, and that needs to be taken in the Twitter section. Okay? Now, so UT represents the effects of media awareness campaign to educate and motivate people to stay away from the methanol consumption, as well as the control 50, what I have said, that is the disulfiram, represents the effect of medication like disulfiram that causes the unpleasant sensation when alcohol is consumed, discouraging people from consuming bottleneck alcohol. Now this is the objective function which we have considered. Ultimately, all the results we have received, I am not going to this part, and the parameter values which we have considered from divide, we have considered some also we have assumed, and ultimately later I am going. I have received, that is the general type solution. I am not going to this part, but the most important thing which I will let you know, that is we have considered three stages. One is only we have build up the honest program, how the effects being detected in the pupil, those who are taking the illicit as well as legal alcohol. Again, we have given only the disulfiram tablet, those people, those who are taking the illicit alcohol or the consumers. We have given only disulfiram, and another strategy that simultaneously we are giving with each other, that is the awareness build-up as well as the disulfiram. We have received the best result for the strategy. That has been shown in all these figures. I am not going to this part, and we have also is our responsibility ratio immediately. Not going to start with it, but just we will give you the theme of our work. The model is mathematically, biologically consistent with confirmed scientifically boundedness and staging, and the global sensitivity analysis and elegant simulation, elegant model, the robustness and highlight of the most individual parameters and intervention outcomes. That is, awareness alone reduces harmful alcohol consumption gradually, but cannot eliminate illicit or methanol intake. And medication alone provides short-term improvement followed by a rebound once drug affects the decline, and combined strategy and cost effectiveness, which is awareness plus medication, delivers the largest reduction in the harmful consumption and the highest increase in the Twitter population. And lastly, apparently seeing the most cost-effective intervention as we best balance between income and cost. So, this is the message. When common consumers harmful illicit alcohol, impulsive closing of economic and economic safety provides an effective and clinically reliable treatment strategy, even in low resource areas where advanced options like dialysis are unavailable. And last time, the population level awareness initiative and anti-drinking medication such as disulfiram can significantly reduce consumption, prevent methanol poisoning outbreak. and discourage people from consuming this dangerous illicit alcohol. And my acknowledgement, I am deeply acknowledge my collaborator David Dillon of University of Strathclyde, Glasgow, and my research scholars, basically Sanju, Musharraf, Dr. Wamkar, all they are involved in this work. And this is Professor Dillon and all of my scholars. And lastly, this is the reference. And obviously, I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Roy, for that wonderful presentation. So let's still appreciate Professor Roy for that talk. All right, so Professor Roy has given us a wonderful talk, taking us from enzyme kinetics within the host model down to a population-based model incorporating awareness and see how awareness will actually cause effect on those who take alcohol illicitly and those who adhere to normal consumption of alcohol. So thank you very much, Professor Roy, for that wonderful presentation. So now we'll be switching over to questions. So we'll be taking some questions. For those of us online, if you have questions, you can indicate if you are online, and those of us on site, please, if you have questions, and I see your names up. No, we should have lots of questions. So just raise it. I'll just give the number once. Then I will have Professor Roy to attend to those questions. So I have 1, 2, 3. That has up. So we have 3 questions. So from the media team, any confirmation from the online, any question from the online participants? I get the confirmation.
No question.
All right, no question from the online participants. So number 1, your question. Thank you for the presentation, but I saw that particularly the second part of the program and the presentation that we were trying to adapt population-based model. So consumption, having to divide people into different groups. But then I also saw that for the we have illegal and then we have legal. Yeah, legal. So illicit and then the legal. So I was trying to look at how can I assess it. Either maybe a child is within a type of alcohol or in terms of either the person is consuming illegally. Because I was thinking that people are saying something that has to do with the effects of alcohol consumption. If somebody either takes it illegally or takes it legally, is being effect, same with the body. Because the body responds differently. So except there are types of alcohol, one that regardless is okay with the body, and that is the other way that is the issue that comes with the body. Or if it's in terms of the way people consume it. So if it is the way people consume it, I feel that either you consume it illegally or you consume it legally, it's still going to have the same effect. So how does that play out in terms of the effects that we see in the population? And then I also want to ask, are there data sets that we're able to look at what kind of data sets apart from just running simulations, are there data sets out there that we also that effect such that we're able to estimate as various parameters out there. So we are carrying out just they can't treat it not work. Thank you.
And thank you. That's good. That's a good question. So just I am telling you, I have divided these two groups. One is legal alcohol consumers, another is illicit alcohol consumers. Very carefully I have given these two. Why? Legal alcohol consumers, that the people, those who are taking the alcohol, and that alcohol is verified in your country. In your country, in the sense of our, with the consent of the government or the shopkeeper, they are selling this alcohol. It is the legal alcohol. That means this legal alcohol, you are giving tax also to the government. So they have some criteria. That is you must have to maintain the minimum data. That is the methanol portion is this type and methanol portion is that type, and so many gradients are there. That is to be involved to making that alcohol. This is basically the legal alcohol. And you are getting to the big shop or any kind of places that is affiliated with the government knowledge, right? And another is the alcohol which are homemade. The people, very poor people, I have shown you a figure. The very poor people, they are unable to purchase or they are unable to purchase the good type of alcohol. They are preparing their alcohol, their own, right? They don't know scientifically what type, how much methanol, how much separate things, several things can be involved preparing during the preparation of the alcohol. So then they don't know. So when this alcohol basically the poison. Suppose a lot of intellectual people are taking alcohol, but they are taking that alcohol which is very legal, right? But if you go to the remote place of your country, that people also taking the alcohol, but that alcohol is not prepared scientifically, and this alcohol is very costly. This alcohol is low cost, right? So there are every time this type. My story is the people, those who are taking that type of alcohol, how the system is to be metabolized in your body. And the second part, you just have to avoid that people don't take this type of alcohol. If you are able, you take. There are so many things. I am not talking about this, but obviously, means the government criteria which governments have been mentioned. Okay. Yes. Suppose if you go to the air, the aerospace will not give more than 2 people. All right? They will not give you. Why? Because they have a restriction. They know everything. That the flavor actually of business. Okay. And another part you have asked me, that is the parameter. The parameter value actually this type of spot mathematically has not been done a lot. Right? Considering the chemical engineering research, they have done something else. But data, suppose the methanol alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme accumulated with methanol, what type of concentration rate can be occurred during the process of interaction. That we have considered not for making alcohol or ingestion of alcohol. They are using this thing in another part in their research. Here I have taken the value of parameter values, which I have involved in my research. So that has been mentioned in the request.
Thank you very much. I think that's addressed your questions. So second question. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. My question is still very simple. I want to ask, more clarification on the property of ethanol that allows it to be used as antidote for ethanol, since both ethanol and ethanol are the same alcoholic group. So what are the properties that allow ethanol to be used as antidotes for ethanol toxicity? That's the question.
So, ethanol and methanol, I have earlier mentioned that it is an alcohol group, right? So, ethanol here being treated, I am not much more aware about the in-depth properties of the ethanol. We are the mathematician, our target, it is the part of the chemistry, right? Our target is the thing, what they are doing, whether I am able to say something about this in terms of mathematical language, or whether I will be able to give some suggestions or predictions. This is our target as a mathematician. So, basically, all properties of ethanol, it is to be delivered by the chemistry or chemical engineer. But simply, what can I say? That if you take methanol and ethanol, the affinity of ethanol during the process of ingestion of your alcohol consumption instantaneously from your liver on enzyme is to be reduced. On enzyme to be produced. That enzyme is called alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme. These alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme will react methanol instantaneously, which is ultimately form a formic acid. Very humble. But when you are giving ethanol, it is also, but it is non-toxic. It is not toxic. It is also non-toxic. But it is to be treated as an antidote. And when you are giving this, the affinity of that enzyme, alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme, which already being produced from your liver, that enzyme will not go to the ethanol. Due to the cause of affinity, this enzyme will move towards the ethanol, and they will accumulate with each other. That is alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme with ethanol. That is alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme complex. Ethanol complex. Right? And this is the another chain that I have mentioned. Acetaldehyde, acetic acid, chloroquine. So in this property, I am at this moment unable to tell you that which property is the chemical configuration. I don't know much.
Excuse me. I told you the difference between ethanol and methanol. They are alcoholic group. Ethanol composition is C2H5OH and methanol composition is CH3OH. But differs primarily in toxicity. If you consume or use ethanol, it has two carbon, which is safe for us. That's why we use for sanitization and others. We can use it for drinking water also. There is no problem. But methanol, methanol is one carbon is a high toxicity. You can cause it to be dead. That's why it is not used in primary in the industry for alcohol. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that response. I know you'll be able to get some light towards that. Thank you. Question 3. Right. Thank you, bro, for beautiful presentation. So I want to clarify on the A class, the media awareness. I don't know if you can help explain more on the rate of change of the A class with respect to time. You can help us go to the equation and explain what's going on there. Thank you, sir.
That's right. This one.
Yes.
Tell me, go to the slide group, go to the slide group. That's this equation. Yes. What I will tell about this?
Sir?
What I will tell about this? Whether you have any question about this?
Yes,
In the
yes.
last what? Oh. Equal to.
Making it there for you. So I want you to explain how the A changes with respect to time there, sir.
Is a
Yes.
rate of changes of awareness. DADT, that means the rate of changes of awareness. Awareness has been divided into two parts. One part, which is local campaigning, is very much associated with the people, those who are taking illicit analyzer, legal alcohol. They will be aware during that campaigning. Another part, the constant campaigning to build up the awareness, that is global, which who is doing by TV, by social media, everywhere, World Health Organization doing, that is the awareness builder. Probably you can remember in the pandemic situation about the coronavirus, what we will do, what I will do, everything has been mentioned and elaborately discussed to build up the awareness to our society global. The same thing has been considered, that awareness built up. It is given to the people, those alcohol, taking illicit alcohol or legal alcohol, that people aware that campaigning which is generated globally. Am I clear? And another part is, this is the local, that is from your friends, from your society, family, from campaigning, local campaigning, the harmful side of this consumption of illicit alcohol. That has been generated locally at a rate each. Right? And if we campaigning, suppose governments are not able to do the campaigning as because of shortage of money. Or so many organizations are there, they are doing or build up awareness program, but due to the fund shortage of fund, they are unable to. So they, and that has a decay, fading. This fading rate has been considered. That is the fading rate of whom? Fading rate of awareness. That has been generated here. And obviously it will give the negative feedback. Therefore, we are given minded. Am I clear?
Thank you very much, Prof. I think I'll be off to have the response, please.
Basically, the believe more, if you want, it's awareness, it starts to really not constant, predating. But I think for mathematical convenience, it's a start. So more realistic, as to not to be a non-constant phenomenon because
This term, Professor, this term, this term,
yeah, so in the report,
this term I have not incorporated here, just I mentioned it. I have not considered L or I. Why?
okay,
Why?
yes, so
Can you tell me why I have not introduced A or L, that is with this term, omega with this term, I have not introduced A or I. Why? Why?
I don't know.
And I am telling you, you know.
The aspects, the aspect I'm focusing on is like when we are bringing in awareness. You understand? Media awareness is the real life, it cannot be a constant rate. It has to be time dependent. Right? No problem with this. Now, what I'm looking at to kind of do more work on this, when we finish, we talk about what we can do for Nigeria on this.
Okay. Just I am telling you, yeah, just a minute. This A and O, just a minute. Is omega awareness increases from global campaigns. That means global campaigning, that means the people, those who are taking illicit alcohol, legal alcohol, as well the people, those who are not taking anything in it. All people being aware. Therefore, it is not to be attached with the people with legal and alcohol. It is therefore being involved with omega house. And local campaigning, family campaigning, poster campaigning, your school campaigning, it is the local campaigning, and that campaigning is very much associated with the illicit alcohol as well as legal alcohol consumers.
Thank you very much, Professor Roy. Then, Mr. Sam.
So thanks so much, Prof, for the presentation. So my question has to do with now having divided into individuals who take alcohol legally and those who take it illicitly. So the question that I have in mind is, let's assume we want to control those who take alcohol, the illicit alcohol, as the work has shown, that I want to look at maybe sensitivity analysis, or we want to carry out sensitivity analysis of the model. So what's going to be the parameter that we're going to target as to know maybe how we can control the production of the illicit alcohol from what your work has shown? Because I'm still trying to understand, okay, if you want to put the control.
What is the main question? Just you what you wish to know. That you ask me. What you wish to know from me, from my study, that you just know. Hello. You will go this time. You go this time, please. Yes.
Can I go on?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so as I said, so I want to know that if, for instance, I'm looking in malaria, for instance, let me start with that. But we want to control sometimes it carry out sensitivity analysis to know the kind of parameters to target in order to reduce transmission. So, for instance, if you want to reduce the illicit taking of alcohol in this particular case, so which parameter do we target? Maybe we have to do our sensitivity analysis. What's going to be that parameter? What's going to be that threshold? What's going to be that particular pen that we need to target to check?
You mixed up. Next time I will give my lecture on infection. You have mixed us with two different situations. Here we did analytical part. That is the significance of the mathematical study or the validation of the model. Non-negativity. Right? Existence condition, whether this system is exist. Otherwise, you will not be able to do any kind of work. Your first task is, when you wish to formulate a mathematical model, your first task is whether the model is to be validated. Otherwise, it will not be possible. Anyway, that's why we did the non-negativity, the existence condition, and each one compartment is absent, what will be the relation between the others? That we mathematically analyze. No disease concept has been done, R0, which you are mentioning here, the basic reproduction ratio. That we relate with everything. Yeah, no, we have not done. We have done that things only. That is when we have introduced the control input parameters. That is one UT, another is DT. UT, what does it mean? That I have clarified. DT, what does it mean? That I have clarified. Why I have used that UT and BT? That also these inputs I have mentioned during my person. Now your what you will see, what you will reveal to go. That is your target is in which part we can get the best result. That is the optimal control being introduced here. We have seen strategy 1, we have seen strategy 2, we have seen strategy 3. From our analytical as well as numerical calculation or study, we have seen strategy C is the best. Actually, our target is this. So mathematically, how you will reach to this position, that is your product. This is the minimum, right? So you will not do anything. Suppose you will not get any mathematical model, even that first one, JDB, you will not get any mathematical model at this moment. This pattern, any mathematical, I am challenging. This is the first model. So you would target as a mathematician when you are formulate a mathematical model, what actually you wish to do. And your task is whether the model is validated. This is your first step. With the mathematician, we do the first thing is whether the mathematical formulating mathematical model, whether the model is valid. Am I right? Any question?
Right, thank you very much, Professor Roy. So finally, to cap it off, Professor Ike, you have a question?
Thank you, Prof, for this beautiful and insightful lecture. It looks more scientific because of these formulas. I can bet you if we had a larger audience, larger university audience, you'll be here for 2 days answering questions, because I'm sure a substantial number of people consume alcohol. And the subject you have raised is very pertinent to some. In fact, some of them will begin to look at that aspect of the folinic acid. I hope it is not exaggeration. I don't know how easy it is for people to access it, because you have brought it as a form of panacea or a control measure, okay, something to ameliorate the effect of the alcohol, whether illicit or legal or whatsoever. But you know, in this part of the world, when people begin to see this kind of thing, it is like you are somehow endorsing that you can continue to take alcohol because there is a remedy. So you go and be looking for that folinic acid, so that when they consume alcohol, then they know that they can also begin to consume folinic acid to ameliorate the effect. So it's a very brilliant study, which is very useful to the community. But how accessible is that folinic acid? And from your studies, the toxicity, the safety, as well as the efficacy that you have evaluated, what can you recommend? It is something that, just as you said, there are legal alcohol. Folinic acid should be legalized for those who are taking alcohol, so that it can help them to down it. Yeah, thank you.
possible because we are not experimenting this. It is true, but what predictions we are giving that you biologist people can check. Political you will give it what can I say? I think you are the leader. Next one. No. The Japanese আমাদের তাই না বলে you just have to impulsive that that can be said. Right? The political just ingestion. Two ingestion, right? আমরা যে আমাদের দেয় না ডিহাইড্রেশন হয়ে গেলে বলে ওটাকে সবসময় দিই আমরা আমার হিসেবে দেয় So just you have to give this injection, right? It is very simple process. Very simple process. And people are using this in primary health centers. Ethanol. It's not folic acid. Folic acid is our fourth study. Actually, before that we have studied one. And there I have not used the folic acid. And I have just from a medical science journal I have seen. And that's why I have used. And those interval, those inside, that I have.
Thank you very much, Professor Roy. Let's take a look at the place coming. Professor, thank you very much for that wonderful talk. So let's after now we'll be going to take a tea break. But before we do that, we are going to call on our dear prof, the director, Professor E.A. Bakari, to make his remark and then make a presentation to Professor Roy. Professor Roy, please read it. Thank you.
So thank you very much. So quick CV, Roy. I met him in Niger. First time in 2004. He has been a very wonderful man. He was very energetic to come to Nigeria. When they got the visa, he said, Bakari, I've got the visa. I mean, I want to see you. So I really appreciate him. And it's been a wonderful talk. I want to appreciate him. Please appreciate your work in mathematical biology and ecology. On behalf of I am the International Radio of this foundation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Roy. Thank you very much for that presentation. So now we'll be going for our tea break. So a quick announcement for the on-site presenters and also for the online presenters. Get your slides ready, and once we come back, we'll be taking those presentations. So we'll be right now we'll be for our tea break. So we have 15 minutes to take our tea break, and right after 15 minutes from back for presentation. Thank you very much.